This week we're reading Parashat Tetzave, and it begins with a description of the menorah, and then it moves on to a description of the clothing that the high priest wore in the tabernacle. This tabernacle that the Jewish people are tasked with creating, that's going to be a place that travels with the Jewish people through the wilderness, a place where, so to speak, God will reside in their midst. So we read about the description of the clothing that the high priest wore. So one of the garments that he wore was a breastplate. And on this breastplate were 12 stones, each one of a different color. And etched into each stone was the name of one of the tribes. So all the tribes were represented by these 12 stones. Aaron also had on his shoulders stones that were etched with the names of the tribes. And it was etched by a little shamir worm that was created on the sixth day, at the end of the sixth day of creation, right before Shabbat. This shamir worm was created so that it could etch into these stones the names of all the tribes. So these letters were what Aaron wore on his heart. So Aaron, the high priest, was somebody who was a pursuer of peace. He loved people and he wanted there to be shalom between people, and he pursued that with all of his efforts. He was also a man that we understand did not have any jealousy. He had no jealousy in his heart for Moses, his younger brother, who had a higher level of prophecy than he did. But Aaron was not jealous. Aaron was happy and joyous for his brother. He was not arrogant. He didn't have any ego that got in the way. And he was able to have this open heart such that he merited to have the names of all the Jewish people on his heart and on his shoulder. He could carry them and he could open his heart and he could pray for them. So here we are in days where we are coming together as a Jewish people. We have an outside threat. And we spoke last week about giving and how giving brings us together. But another thing that brings us together that we can see from Aaron is our capacity to pray for each other. That just as Aaron prayed for all the Jewish people with an open heart, and he was able to identify them and expand himself to include all the Jewish people, perhaps we could learn from this. And perhaps when we pray, we could take one hostage or one soldier or one sick person and insert the name into our prayers of this person that we're praying for. So that as much as we pray for all the Jewish people and as much as we pray for all the sick people and we pray for all the hostages, perhaps we can learn from Aaron the importance of praying for each other, and maybe for us in our day, but praying for one person might be something that we could do with a full heart. We could open our hearts and we could pray for one of the hostages or one of the soldiers or one of the sick people in the hospital or one person in our lives that we feel could merit some prayer. And please God, with all of our prayers and with all our expansive hearts, we can see healing and we can see peace come between us and each other and the world.